Now, your PC has this thing called a power button. Some say that computer engineers actually put it there as a piece of modern art, but in truth, it has the ability to shut your PC off and power it back on again. Wow. So how often should you be pressing it? Should you leave your PC on all the time, shut it off every night, or let it hibernate like a bear? Does it make any difference to the life of your PC and who you are as a person? It absolutely does, and you should be ashamed of yourself for thinking otherwise. All right, so there's various states your PC can be in. We'll cover those first, then we'll cover the age-old debate. Leave your PC on all the time or shut it off every night, and these wars have been fought over this issue, so stay tuned. So the first state you can find your computer in is the on state, obviously. This is when you spend some time massaging it gently and press all the right buttons and turn it on. So this is sort of more seriously, let's say, for example, when the computer is fully powered and operating, normally running programs and whatnot. The second state for the computer is the off or headache state. I know some of this is kind of hard to wrap your head around, but try and keep up here. Third is sleep. In this mode, all open files and applications are actually copied into RAM, and the computer enters a very low power state. It does still draw some power because RAM is what is known as volatile memory, which means it only retains data as long as it has power going to it, at least periodically. When you wake the computer, everything resumes what you were doing beforehand very quickly because RAM is super fast. Fourth is the hibernating state. This mode saves your open files and applications onto a file on your boot drive instead of to your RAM, then pretty much shuts the computer off, which is fine, since hard drives and SSDs are non-volatile storage. So when you wake the PC from hibernation, even though it had no power to it, it'll take a little longer to wake, but everything will still be there, ready to rock much faster than booting from an off state. Finally, hybrid sleep is a combination of the sleep and hibernate modes that is enabled by default in Windows desktop PCs. It copies open files and applications into both your boot drive and RAM, then puts your computer into the same low power state as regular sleep mode. That way, you can resume your work quickly from RAM, but just in case the power goes out in the middle of whatever the heck was going on, since your session is also on the hard drive, you could wake up after completely losing power or even leaving your laptop out in the rain and putting it out to dry for 3 weeks. Speaking from experience. So, assuming you actually care about your PC's power consumption, I mean, electricity bills can be expensive, what scenario are each of these modes for? Well, sleep or hybrid sleep is obviously the best for when you'll be gone from your computer for a short time and need to quickly resume your work. It's an important feature for laptops, which get closed and reopened very frequently sometimes, moving between classrooms or, tables at Starbucks. Maybe someone else wanted that table. You got to go sit at a different table. Maybe the couch opened up just now. You got to jet over there and whip open your MacBook and type away at your novel or whatever it is you're writing, because there's no sense draining the battery fully while it's idle, and it's obviously idle if you have the top closed. It's also great when your boot drive isn't very fast. So if you have a magnetic storage drive instead of an SSD, your computer will wake from sleep a lot faster than it takes to wake from hibernate or to boot the system off that magnetic drive. Hibernation is best for when you'll be gone for a longer period of time, multiple hours or a day, and you want to resume your work still fairly immediately when you return, rather than booting up and firing up all the programs individually. The amount of power used in hibernation is actually about the same as when the PC is off. So this is pretty much the best mode in terms of power savings and efficiency. And yes, your PC does still draw a small amount of power even when it's off, unless you unplug it or use a smart outlet, but you're not saving a whole lot by unplugging your computer when you're not using it, and you're adding a completely unnecessary additional step to turning on your system if you go ahead and do that. One tip, though, for hibernation is if you have an SSD as a boot drive, you might as well just use hibernation instead of sleep, because it pretty much wakes up fairly instantly. It's a great combination there. SSD plus hibernation. Watch out though, because having hibernation enabled on your PC does reserve a chunk of space on your SSD equivalent to the amount of memory you have in your system that you can't access. It just reserves it for hibernation. So SSD storage is expensive. You got to decide if you want to allocate that space. So now that we've covered the power saving modes, what about leaving your PC on all the time versus regular shutdowns? You know, that question that causes wars. Some people say it's better for the life of our PC to leave it on, since the stress of starting up and shutting down leads to wear and tear on the components, and others say that shutting your PC off every night gives it a rest and can extend its life, since the components don't have to do anything, so why do you have them powered on? So the answer here is, pretty much as always, it depends. If you only use your computer once, maybe twice a day, turning it off when you're not using it, well, you might as well save some electricity. The wear and tear from shutdown and startup argument is somewhat true, although modern components are much more resilient in this regard, with hard drives actually having been the major concern when it came to starting up and shutting down, and they're becoming less and less common as time goes on. For things like fans, power on time is more of a stressor than starting up and shutting down. So do you have more hard drives or do you have more fans? Which ones do you want to die? Fans are cheap to replace, hard drives are not. Yeah. One strong argument for leaving your computer on all the time is, well, hey, maybe you actually just use it a lot. I mean, you know, the Earth orbits the sun and components fail. This is just kind of something that's a part of life. And the convenience of, say, for example, being able to remotely access your computer from somewhere else can outweigh for many people the power savings and or the reduction in component failure rates that comes with turning their PC off all the time. So that's pretty much it for this episode, guys. Let us know in the comments. Do you leave your computer on? Do you shut it off? Do you sleep? Do you hibernate? Do you hybrid? Sound off below. Like or dislike this video, whatever tickles your hard drive. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this from NCIS.